You're listening to Literally First Class, the podcast for female founders behind multi-million-dollar brands and businesses. I'm your host, Keri Ford, creative director turned 3-time award-winning coach, real estate investor, mom, and the one-on-one private advisor for multi-7- and 8-figure firms. If you're ready to make your next million, expand your impact, and lead with even more confidence, you're in the right place. Let's take your life and business first class. Have you ever thought about how you can invite your loved ones into personal development, growth, and expansion? You're not alone. I got this question from one of my longtime clients and Somatic Society members in our Facebook group. And I really wanted to share this because I knew that this would be a good topic, especially around the holidays, because we're seeing more family. So the question is from Tiffany Mercer, and it's how can we create empowering invitations for our loved ones to choose growth versus feeling like we're just telling them that they're not good enough? So good. First of all, keyword, invitational, right? We want to create empowering invitations using invitational language. So I'm going to give you a menu of a few things that you could use as you approach this really tender conversation. So the first one is, have you considered XYZ? Have you ever considered joining a program? Have you ever considered hiring a coach? Have you considered what life might be like if you were to do the work I'm doing on myself too, right? Have you considered? It comes from a place of wonderment and curiosity, and it really can invite the person that you're asking to lay down their metaphorical sword and their defenses and get curious within and really connect to what you're actually asking them, which is, we're just having a conversation. Have you considered this? Number 2, I wonder what would happen if, right? I wonder what would happen if we both had coaches. I wonder what would happen if we were both entrepreneurs. I wonder what would happen if we went on a retreat together. Have you ever thought about that? So again, still using the same invitational language. It is somewhat passive and suggestive, but it's not passive aggressive, right? It's not, I wonder what would happen if you got your shit together. That's a passive aggressive comment. I wonder what would happen if you were as evolved as I am. That's passive aggressive. So I wonder what would happen if we XYZ, if you XYZ. Number 3, can I be honest with you? It's more direct, but it asks for permission, and it's an invitation into offering something that's really honest and really truthful. And I ask this still with clients, even though they've signed a contract, they've paid me money, we understand the coach-client dynamic, I still ask this as a question, like, can I be honest with you? Or I might ask this on a consultation call where I don't know them so well and I don't want to be off-putting, but I really want to share something that might be helpful or offer a belief shift. Can I be honest with you? Can I share something with you? That's number 4. Can I share something with you? So then you're honest, Can I be honest with you, or can I share something with you? A pattern I'm noticing is, or something I've thought about is, it would be so cool if you had a coach like me, or wouldn't that be awesome if? So being honest and truthful is loving, but your delivery can really matter, because don't forget, if you're coming at this conversation with someone who has never worked on themselves, maybe has a desire to grow but doesn't know what that looks like or where to start first or how to go about that, but they have felt a little bit of a tug, they may interpret this as they're not good enough, or this is a criticism, or, I need to be somebody different or better than what I'm already trying to be for you and with you. So it's a very tender conversation to approach and have. And the last one, number 5, is I'm curious about. And you have to be, again, so sweet and gentle and curious in your energy. Your energy has to be clean as you ask these, because they could come off, if you use them in the wrong way, they could come off a little bit manipulative, and you don't want that. You're not trying to trap them into saying something. You're trying to genuinely have an open, honest conversation where you can take into consideration or metabolize what they're saying, and know that their experience and the way that they are coming to their own path of growth and expansion, if they choose it, is valid. It's 100% valid. It's why when a client asks me, is that my intuition or fear? I say, I don't know. That's not my question to answer, because I never want to be the coach that says, give me your power. I want them to be walked into their own empowerment, to learn how to discern that. Because sometimes it might be our intuition, and sometimes it might be fear, but they might feel the same. And that might be perfect for exactly the lesson that they need to go through. And who would I be to rob them of their transformation? That's their path with God. That's their path to walk down. So this has to be a very unconditional conversation, that their feelings and their experience and their thoughts, their path is not wrong. It's all perfect, and it's valid, and it's based on their lived experiences, right? Which is exactly what someone's perception is based on. So saying that, their interpretation, no matter how kindly, curiously, wondrously you approach this conversation, they might still interpret it as they're not good enough if they have a wound around that. Their interpretation is not your responsibility. Therein lies the work. They may not know what you're even saying when you say that. I remember communicating something to this effect with my ex-husband, where I was like, I might offer that you get curious around what is triggering you before you project it. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So you can, this language and this verbiage, especially if you've been growing and developing and learning, it can trigger some people, and it can also go over their head, or they might not know what the fuck you're saying. So you got to remember to just use terms that they are going to understand, not because you're lowering yourself or because you're better than them or more evolved, but because they don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're trying to connect and have a real conversation. So they may interpret, no matter how you say this, they may interpret it as, they might hear it as, I'm not good enough, or this is a criticism. And so just be very loving and compassionate if that is in fact their interpretation, but know that that's not your work. That's their work. So, our triggers reveal that about us. They reveal places that are unhealed still. And hopefully your partner is curious enough to want to go in and understand, say, hey, oh man, I could see that this is mine. I could see that this is I'm really interpreting it that way, and I'm having a hard time, even though you're saying this isn't a criticism, I'm really having a hard time understanding that it's not, or hearing or feeling like it's not, because my nervous system or my body or my brain or whatever, I'm interpreting it that way. And that leads to a different conversation, which is amazing. So, know that you can come at this with a very beautiful presentation, if you will, and it could still be interpreted from that way, from that lens. And how you navigate that and how you hold that will be a testimony to the work you've done on yourself. This message sponsored by Po Hung Yu. Have you ever thought about microdosing before? Maybe you've even seen documentaries like Fantastic Fungi or How to Change Your Mind on Netflix. By the way, I have a funny story about the Fantastic Fungi, but you're going to have to ask me offline. Or maybe you've heard about the extensive research happening in the best universities and the evidence showing how mushrooms are game-changing for those with anxiety, depression, ADHD, and even PTSD. So many female leaders and moms have jumped on the microdosing bandwagon to help them better manage modern-day stress. I want to introduce you to our new brand partner, Po Hung Yu. She's a self-mastery mentor, microdosing guide, and a former acupuncturist. And as a successful woman like me, like you, imagine a life where your brain and your nervous system can just relax. That's exactly what happens when you microdose and you're guided by an experienced facilitator. So you can actually be present and enjoy your life minus the anxiety, overwhelm, and stress. The best part is you don't feel high, there's no psychedelic effect, and no one will know. You can still work, be with your kids, drive, exercise, and live your normal day-to-day life. But you'll still receive all of the amazing benefits of mushrooms, like increasing neuroplasticity, flow, creativity, focus, and even your connection and intimacy with your loved ones. Not only will you receive a 15-minute consult where Po will tell you exactly how this process works so you can decide if it's a fit for you, but you'll also get a bonus of $500 off and a complimentary root cause assessment call worth over $800 when you decide to work with Po. Click the link below in the show notes to get started today. Which brings me to the last part of this, which is be the example. Be the example in how the way you respond and react changes. Maybe if you've been with that partner or in this friendship or relationship long enough, they notice the shift. Wow, like normally you'd blow up at me. Normally I'd be made to feel wrong. Normally you'd get loud. Normally you'd be triggered by this. And you're showing by the simple evolution and growth and healing of your nervous system and the expansion that you've experienced that you're shifting in real time. And that's proof and a measure of success in nervous system work. And the other is be the example. They're going to witness how you carry yourself. They're going to feel the embodiment. They're going to see how you show up differently. They're going to notice that. They may not know why exactly, but they're going to feel that shift. There is a time and a shift that happens with every one of my clients after I work with them for a certain amount of time. Most of my one-on-one clients, I will say, somewhere around the 1 year mark, somewhere between 6 months and a year, they start getting this feedback from the people around them. And the feedback always sounds the same. It's something's different about you. Did you like get a new haircut? Like you're like glowing. There's just a different, like you're radiating. There's just a different energy about you. Like what's different? What am I missing? And oftentimes it's all the shit that they've released and healed because I've had their nervous system for half a year to a year at least, right? And so we're actively clearing the debris of everything that they're not to remember who the fuck they are, who they've always been, and to amplify that and to expand that. So that always happens. And they are. It's like people can see them for the first time, maybe in a long time, or for the first time ever, in a way that they had never seen them. And I hear this from people that come to me through referrals. They're like, oh, I've seen your work. I've seen the work you do. I knew so-and-so before you worked with her, and she is not the same, and yet she's more herself than she's ever been. So there is something that happens, a shift in being that example. People will feel it. You'll have strangers come up to you. That always weirds my clients out when they have strangers be like, do I know you? I feel like I need to know you. Or like, there's something like magnetic about you. Again, they use words that really kind of dance around it, but they don't know what it is. It's that they're feeling the healing. They're feeling their soul essence. They're feeling them come through, which is no longer clouded by trauma and the mask that needed to be there at one point. So let your person feel that. And then, you know what? I'm going to add one more. I have one more, which is invite them into your world. So instead of making this about them and what they are or are not doing, include them in on your process. Share with them. There are many clients that hesitate to start working with me or are fearful of what the next level of working with me could look like because of what they think it might cost them, and what they think it might cost them is the partnership that they're in or the friendships that they have. And sometimes it is. Sometimes there is a price to be paid as you outgrow relationships, right? Sometimes the personal development work is really the thing they were attracted to find their way out of a relationship that on some deep level they knew wasn't good for them to begin with. But sometimes it can be the catalyst for deeper intimacy and vulnerability and the depths of the relationship that you're already in that you don't even know how fucking good it can get. So I don't know, because I don't know the different relationships and dynamics and all of the interpersonal weavings with that. It's layered, right? And so sometimes it costs us those relationships, but then in truth, is it really costing us anything if it was never really aligned? And the personal development and the healing just gave us the courage and the confidence to leave what was never really aligned. So in truth, we left nothing behind that was in service to us or that was ever really good for us. But then there's the other side, which is what I think we're talking about here, which is how can I find deeper levels of intimacy and vulnerability within the context of the relationship I'm in. And, this is the very thing that scares women, because maybe their partner isn't working on themselves in this way, or maybe it feels like they're speaking a different language for a period of time and they're more disconnected, or maybe it triggers that partner into feeling like you're trying to find your way out, even though you're trying to find your way in deeper. This can trigger abandonment wounds, betrayal wounds, rejection wounds of a partner who thinks that if you become a better version of yourself, that it means that they're going to be left behind, when in fact, this work is the way that you're seeking your way back to them in better and newer ways. And so in that instance, if it's a relationship you want to keep, and it's triggering that partner that thinks like this is, how you're going to find your way away from me, then invite them into your world. As you come out of a coaching session, you share, hey, you know what came up for me? XYZ. Or, hey, I'm going on this retreat, and even though it's for all women, why don't you come and meet me at the hotel after? You're the first person I want to see. Invite them in along the journey as best you can. Let them know that this isn't about finding your way away from them. This is about finding your way toward them. This is about finding a deeper level of connection in the relationship, not out of the relationship. And so, there's going to be different and varying degrees to which this is applied. But in summary, be invitational in your language. Have open, curious conversations. Know that their experience is valid. Know that you also may trigger them based on their perception, their lived experience, and their interpretation, even when you use invitational language. And that's okay too, because now it opens up another conversation around triggers and who's what stuff. Whose is what's, right? Like what's your trigger and what's mine and what's projected and what's not. Be the example that you want to set, that you want to call in, that you want to cultivate within the relationship, within yourself. Be the embodiment of that. And invite them into the process with you wherever you can. Create a touch point. So I hope that's helpful. I think this is a fantastic question. I see this at all levels of success, and especially, the women that are at, I would say the women that are at a certain level of success, like 1 million, 2 million, they've already got an established business. Likely, at least my clients, they're often the high earner in the household. They're the one driving a lot of things. So the conversation in those relationships shifts a little bit around masculine and feminine polarity, how we can maintain polarity in the relationship, because this is a woman that is used to being in charge all the time. So how can you learn to surrender and soften and receive? That is definitely a conversation that we have. And also they get to practice that in our coaching container. The relief that I see when I tell them, like, this is the space, the one space that you don't need to be in charge. You don't have to be in charge here. Let me hold that for you. They're like, oh, thank God. Thank God. I've been looking for spaces and places where I can be held the way I hold everyone and everything else. So if that's you, you can go into the link below, check out some programs. We can book a call and chat about what it might look like to work together. Or you can just jump in and book a power hour. Or if you even know that you're looking for your next level mentor, maybe that spoke to you. But we can save that for another episode around the masculine and feminine poles, how to maintain polarity, especially at higher levels of success, where women like you are just used to running the show. All right. Hope this episode found you well, and I'll see you on the next episode. Keep it first class.
Thanks for tuning in to Literally First Class. If today's episode inspired you, hit subscribe and leave a review. It helps us reach even more incredible women like you who are ready to level up, lead with impact, and make first-class moves. I'll see you in the next episode, but until then, keep dreaming big and taking bold action.